Scholars research the reception of a work to make broader claims about how it was understood at a specific time and place in history. Reception histories answer questions such as, how did critics react to a work? How did the author or publisher promote it? Who were the audiences for the work? And how did viewers and readers understand it? To answer these kinds of questions, scholars rely on historical materials from the period. They often look in newspapers, trade publications, and periodicals, as well as at ephemera. In this video, we're going to discuss how to use collections of digitized newspapers and periodicals to study reception. We'll examine reviews and advertisements for a 19th century revival of King Lear and the original publication of the novel The Great Gatsby. To research an 1858 production of King Lear starring Edmund Kean, we'll begin by using ProQuest. ProQuest is a platform incorporating many different historical newspaper and periodical databases. From the Penn Library's homepage, search in Franklin for ProQuest Historical Newspapers, then click Connect to Resource. Once on the site, go to the very top where it says Searching and click on the underlined 14 databases. You'll get a whole list of database options. Click Select All at the top. Then click Advanced Search and choose all the types that include materials you want. For example, historical newspapers, historical periodicals, magazines, and newspapers. I'm going to limit my search by date to 1800 to 1900. Search for King Lear in quotes and add Kean. For this record, King Lear, A History of the Play, records reactions not only to King's 1858 Lear, but also his earlier portrayals in 1820 and 1823. This 1890 retrospective provides valuable information contrasting different stagings of the same play. However, since it was written several decades after the performance, we might need to do research to find out how reliable it is. Let's go back to the results. We can get closer to the production date by further limiting the date. Narrow the range to 1858 to 1859 using either the slider or the narrow date option on the right side of the page. Now we have about 50 results. Open the second result, King Lear at the Princess's Theatre. Zoom in if necessary. This result praises the 1858 performance for its faithfulness to Shakespeare's original text and for its scenic representation, which is described in great detail. Another result, King Lear and the Merchant of Venice at the Princess's Theatre, gives an in-depth 3-page treatment of the two plays. This monthly arts periodical provides a different perspective than a newspaper review, which is meant for a wider audience. The information you'll find for the 20th century is slightly different because of changes in cultural records and in copyright. Let's look at a novel to explore this further. The Great Gatsby, a novel of wealth and death, was first published in 1925. It's difficult to approach the text now without the hindsight offered by our knowledge of the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression that followed. But if we wanted to understand the position of the book in the experience of the 1920s, we could turn to historical sources. We'll use ProQuest again to find these sources. You can see from the graph on the right side of the results page that there are many more results from the most recent decades. However, we're interested in the moment when the novel first came out, so narrow the time to 1925 using either the slider or the narrow date option. The outcome is 63 results. These include reviews, ads, and other kinds of articles. The fourth entry is a review by the famous critic H.L. Mencken. Let's look at it. It's a fairly critical review that gives a sense of Fitzgerald's public and literary reputation at the time. Items like ads and lists often don't have descriptive titles. For example, Other 8 is a list of top-selling books. This list lets you know that by May, Gatsby was #1, but it also shows other books, fiction and nonfiction, that were selling well at the time. The ads, like Display Ad 52, are often titled letting you know to look for the ad. In this case, we have to scroll down to find the advertisement for The Great Gatsby. advertisements can give a sense of how important a work was to the publishers. For example, Fitzgerald's novel is often the first and largest of ads with multiple authors. They also give you a sense of how it was being sold. What are the contents of the synopsis? What rhetoric does the copy use? Who are the quoted blurbs from? While ProQuest is an excellent resource and has a database of large newspapers and many periodicals, you also may want to look at other newspapers. Penn Libraries has access to many newspapers from the United States, England, and beyond, from the 16th century to the present. Links to these sources are aggregated in two guides, American newspapers and international newspapers, which you can find by searching the Guides tab on the library's homepage. For subjects before 1924, you should look at Chronicling America. Chronicling America is a collection of newspapers from across the United States that have been digitized by the Library of Congress. However, Gatsby was published after 1924, so finding other newspaper sources becomes more complicated. The Historical Newspaper Online Directory, created by a librarian here at Penn, is a more consistent resource. It provides links to digitized newspapers from small towns to national papers that are often easily searched and well maintained. A wealth of digitized newspapers and periodicals from all over the world and from all time periods is available to scholars now. Most of these resources provide keyword searching and results displayed as images of the newspaper pages. While ProQuest is the easiest way to search these materials, there's a trove of material from niche newspapers, like those from labor unions, and from smaller locales, like Mobile, Alabama, that can be found through using online directories. By looking at articles, advertisements, and reviews, scholars can answer questions about how a work was understood in different times and places, by critics, reviewers, and sometimes even ordinary readers. This research can give us insight into the situated meaning and impact of the work and the relationship between literary works and their audiences.